Here we come to the end of the box, and they saved what I think may be the best for last. I'm not sure, we'll see. But this is the Battle of Evesham. Again, was in Simon Says. Simon lets Edward escape, essentially. Worse than that, he manages to piss off, who the hell is it? Richard de Clare, the Earl of Gloucester, who switches sides. And he also didn't press his advantage immediately, but went immediately on the defensive. Now, he gathered allies from Wales, giving promises to Llewellyn, and but he got himself in a stupid position. His son was in command of some of his forces, got defeated. We don't have that battle. And is trying to break away here. Now he's got the River Avon, and he's kind of caught in a bend of the river here. And the initial setup has him trying to break out across this green hill here, where there's a large royalist contingent under Edward. Still not king. He's got his own forces. He's got Welsh pike here. He's got a problem, which is that Roger Mortimer is coming up behind him across the river. Now there's a few Welsh designated to hold the bridge here, presumably while Simon tries to escape. Now you can see this situation, it's going to require some special rules, there's no question. First of all, a quick look at the terrain chart. The villages, this is the first time I think we've seen something that Cav don't like. They're not going to be able to charge into this or out of it, etc. You probably aren't going to be fighting in the village though. River Avon is impassable. The bridge has a huge -3 disadvantage. So those pikes holding the bridge, they might be relatively effective. I wonder if we can slip away this way. There's escape hexes here. I think this is as well. There's a ferry that's over here, but you're not allowed to use this no matter what as an escape or anything. Level, same as normal. Okay. In terms of setup, the Royalists have some mounted men-at-arms. They would be allowed to dismount them, which might actually improve their defensive position, but I like the reactive capability of mounted troops, so as long as there's nothing that goes against them, and I don't see anything in this one. Oh, uh-oh. Where's my king? I got the wrong king. Or the wrong leader. Oh, he's not any better. Okay. So this is the overall commander version of it. It still has a 0 in terms of having any impact on anyone else. So, not much value. There is no real overall commander for the Royalists. Simon, on the other hand, is still Simon, and he's still pretty good. +2 morale, charisma effect, which I don't think I was taking into account last time. Gonna need it this time, though, because this is an ugly situation. 3 seizure counters, I'll assign them. It's hard to tell where to put them because, yeah, most of Simon's troops is on this side of most of the Royalists, but there's some sneaking up his ass. The standards, single standards for each. Okay. The baronials will be going first. There's a timed engagement set at 12 for the Royalists. Kind of a big deal, although I don't think the baronials can exactly pass. But it means it's not up to them to bust their way through here necessarily, although we'll see. Yeah. Welsh timidity. Okay. All these Welsh pike here, historically they melted away at the first sign of trouble. To simulate this, each time the baronial player activates the Welsh, he rolls a die, halves that number, and that's how many units he has to remove from the map. These don't count against him for losses or anything, but yeah, it's not a good thing. I don't have the losses here. Flight level 25 and 20. Okay. With nothing special. I hope. Okay. Map exit. Non-retired baronial units can exit the map from the marked hexes. They pay 1 movement point to do so. They may also retreat off the map through these hexes. Leaders may not exit the map. If all of a leader's units are eliminated or have exited the map, he is removed. Count his flight points as exited as long as he would not qualify for the capture roll. In his current hex, in which case he is captured, exited units and leaders do not count against baronial flight points. The royalist units cannot enter the hexes even. Evesham is a lopsided battle in favor of the royalists. It's possible for the baronians to win with the standard rules, as shown through playtesting. For players that would like a more balanced scenario, we've added an optional rules to level the field. We have? I guess that's these. Fighting Welsh, get rid of Welsh timidity. Whigamore leads the way. The Royalist player must either activate Wigmore's battle or the standard every Royalist free activation. Nah. Flight levels. Royalist is favored. Automatic victory. If the baronial can get 15 flight points off the map, they instantly win as long as Simon has not been eliminated. Otherwise, it's flight point time. If Simon had been able to break out with even a small force and reach Kenilworth, he might have raised more troops and carried on the rebellion. This would have blunted any royalist victory at Evesham. So it's an interesting situation, very different from anything else we've fought, with some clear goals other than win the battle, or pass a whole hell of a lot so the enemy leaves. Nothing too special here outside of what we've covered. So yeah, this should be an interesting one. Not going to start yet. It's past raid time, and yes, I'm still playing. They know how to hook you in. I'm not playing as heavily as I was though, and I'm trying my damnedest not to. I really should have gone for a walk today, got myself more vodka or some milk or something, just in case. Tomorrow, it's not supposed to rain tomorrow. It's supposed to rain Friday, which is interesting. It's awfully pretty today. Would have been a nice day for a walk. Really, really cool weather. But I sat out on the porch. I had some tea, had a pipe or two, and read. And that's nice. Might even just do that instead of playing Raid right away. But I don't want to be up here. That's key. It's I don't know what. Probably getting close to 4 in the morning on a Thursday. Raid. I slept for a little bit, so I don't think I was playing Raid all the way through. But only for 3 hours. So yeah, I played a lot of Raid today. But there was a reason. There was an event that I wanted to deal with. But I thought there was going to be a big event coming today. And there was, but I'm totally uninterested in playing it. So there's that. All right. So getting back to Evesham. I see a few options for De Montfort. The clearest is, hey, just try to plow through, win the battle, whatever. I don't think that's wise. Simon's a good leader. He's facing only 2 enemy leaders? Really? That can't be. No, 3 because of this. Yeah. He's facing basically 2 enemy battles here that are both really big. But if I can get around that, then I can fight my way through to there more easily, perhaps. Or at least cause the Royals to do some problematic things. So the automatic victory is 15 flight points. That's not a lot. That's basically my 5 mounted men-at-arms. Well, I don't have 5. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I have 3. I have some archers too. So yeah, I can't just charge through, but I can try to put the pressure on one flank or the other. Edward's over here. I would expect him to be the better, and he is slightly. So yeah, I think trying to press this way is the way to go. Now, the final option is to try to deal with this. The only way I can see that happening is if these pikemen do a fantastic job and hold the line. I'm not counting on these doing much. Now, the Welsh, it's every time I activate them. Okay. All right, well, we will start with good old Simon and start on our way. Well, here's how we moved, and we managed to fire a couple of archers off, actually. No, I did not. A couple of them off, and managed to retire a unit. Getting on the board. I always forget to draw the chits, I think because I just don't like them. So let's look at what we got. For the baronials, a battle cry, which is the rally, I guess. Gotta think. Into the breach is not a defensive bonus, therefore this must be unsteady troops, which is pretty useful, and a seize opportunity, which might be very useful, because trying to grab initiative is big on this. But for the English, or for the Royalists, 2 seizure opportunities, and negation, which pretty much cancels that out, and their own battle cry. I guess I try to move the Welsh, and I don't see the British trying to stop that with a seizure. They're going to try to seize if Simon tries to go. They don't really care that much about the Welsh. And that throws it over to an automatic activation here. And yeah, well, we go over to this side, I guess. And so we swing into place some archers firing, some pikes moving up, some blocking the way here a little bit, and a couple of charges against the rear of Simon's troops, which is interesting because I don't believe you're allowed to countercharge. You can shift one vertex to countercharge, and that's it. So coming in the rear that way works just fine. That first round of combat, well, those slamming-ins did not go as well as I might hope. And there's a bit of a problem because that's putting a lot of my forces out of control, out of command. I was hoping to break through. That didn't happen. And now I may be in some trouble. One interesting thing happened. This guy got a continued attack, slammed into these 2. Simon spun around. Now, Simon spinning around isn't that good because my ass is facing that way. But I was surrounded, you know, I mean, bad shit is happening. And that then bounced off of these 2 cav and fell back. At this point, I try to go with a continuation here. And this is the situation that we do not want happening. So we're going to try to seize this, but that's going to get negated. So we come over here, and he's going to go with a 5, which does not work. So we go over here with a free activation. We get to move Simon anyway. Remember, the system doesn't have zones of control, but it does have adjacency rules. So it would be possible for me to try to slip through here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could get to there or whatever. I think it's better for me. I just think that's going to end up getting me slammed in the back and not getting enough troops through anyway. I think it's better for me to try to get those mounted men-at-arms back to where they can regroup. They could attack. It's dangerous, but might be worth it coming from the rear. So I don't know. Shit, I think I did the cav attacks, but I forgot about these attacks over here. Let me take care of these. I already started moving some of Simon's troops. Plus I did the reactions and everything, but we should have the correct situation here. Went about as poorly as they might be imagined for the Royalists here. 2 of their pike got pushed back by these guys, and yeah, I hit the archer. So actually things don't look that much different from how they were. That's awesome. So our setup, we pulled some archers back here to fire, but otherwise 1 unit is pulling back to regroup, some archers pulling back to regroup, but Simon is leading an attack against the rear of this. Some pikes hitting the back of this. Got a charge going in here. That does not get a reaction. I think I'm facing this way. I'll fire because it's out the side, even though I ran right by him. Right? Maybe I do. Maybe I think you just teleport for a charge, which means that there's no opportunity. Still looking stuff up, and I'm on the last one, right? Charge procedure. Place the charge marker. If the charging unit is disordered, replace the charge marker with a shock, and it still must shock. Charges were resolved by placing the charging unit adjacent to the target in step 2 of the shock phase. Yeah. Okay. And I'm pushing against these now. I took a little bit of fire. Well, that's a fucking crossbowman. Oh, what the hell? I thought it was a regular unit. That crossbowman might have disordered, in which case that hit would not have actually happened. I remember the die roll. So crossbowman firing and versus archer. Okay, so the archer hit him as well. Okay, great. Now, all my cleverness isn't as cool as I thought. These guys can retreat before combat. The unit retreats 1 hex. It must be able to end its retreat at least 1 hex away from the attacking. It cannot enter a path of charge. Path of the charge was over here. Doesn't do so. Becomes disordered. 1 attacker that can advance may, even if disordered. Yeep. I guess. All right. But that attacker doesn't get to fight this battle. So we broke through a lot here. This charge didn't work too well. We succeeded in making the charge roll, but then had a horrible roll for the actual attack. However, here we destroyed the mounted men-at-arms. You can see the Royalist points are getting low. And we killed Gloucester, which means his replacement will be coming in shortly. Which is, once his replacement comes in, that's not going to be worth any points. It isn't particularly valuable. It just allows me to have the units in command. And we got a continuing attack on these poor suckers, which might not work too well because that's a flank hit. Obviously, I can't take Simon again, but you might say, well, the English really, or the Royalists really want, they're all English, right? Well, not the Welsh, but okay. Really want the activation here. Maybe they'd do a seizure or something. Here's the problem. They don't want to do that because They need a free activation to rally those, to get their points back so that they're not on the verge of losing the battle itself, as opposed to winning a battle but Simon escaping. Actually being defeated here would be much, much worse. So, we'll see if the Welsh get to activate. They do not, which means it's going to be a free activation over here. I'll put him on top so I know to deal with that. I'm going to take a little bit of a break, but yeah. It's kind of an interesting fight. It's ending up more bloody. Like, I don't know what I thought. I thought I'd just be able to slip by or something, I guess. I have no idea. But it is turning out kind of an interesting battle over on this side. And actually, there's an option. What was the weird option? To make things more balanced, Wigmore leads the way. The Royalists must activate Wigmore's Battle of the Standard every Royalist free activation. Well, that would be horrible. That's a horrible rule because you could take Simon and run this way. And these would not get to react. So that whole, like, we're essentially causing this Wigmore leads the way by hitting here. So that he kind of has to do something because he has to prevent Simon from getting back here. And yeah, I mean, these could shift over and help defend, but right now we definitely need the standard going. August is kind of funny here. June and July tends to be mainly clearer, warmer weather, hot weather. August quite often gets these kind of cloudy, cooler spells happening, getting you ready. And even on the pretty days, there's this sort of hint of autumn in the air already. Okay, so we're over here. I've got to put this replacement counter somewhere. Damned if I know where. I don't know what I'm going to be doing with this force, but I'm going to rally these, get some points back. He's not really useful to anything. He's just able to put things in command, so I guess it's not that big a deal. Okay, and then we got one that flipped over on my 2, 3, 4. Gets us back up to 18, where things are at least a little bit safe. What the hell? Oh yeah, I really hate when counters. I can understand reasons for it, but when counters are not back printed, like with the same stuff as everything else with the same front print, and vice versa. So like, if I look at charge here and come up with retired, well, charges are on the other side of shock as well, which would be okay, except that some retireds also have shocks, and it's just hard to find what you're looking for. You need more sorting bins than I wanted to devote. Like I would have needed to split this into the retired charge ones and that. And then, these you have different engaged on the back of each of these. And then there's engaged on the back of these, but also out of commands. And it's a mess. But to some extent, to get the counter mix numbers to work right for the amount of things, no matter what's going on and everything, it makes sense. It's just a pain in the ass. Okay. And now I get to do a continuation. And here's the big question. Do I try to continue here or here? Do I want to withdraw or do I want to start doing some damage to the enemy? He's not in the conversation. A really hard call. This guy's more likely. He doesn't give any benefit anyway. All right, let's go for the more likely. Can't intervene. Oh, well. Simon's got a fairly big formation. So do the Royalists, but now that I've trimmed this one down, I can get a lot of hits on it. I'm breaking through over here, and I'm still recovering a lot of units. I probably should throw Simon into one of these fights. There's not much danger of getting... This is the better one. See, I would rather be over here. Oh, here's the problem. 1, 2, 3. Let's put him here. I want to keep command of my units. And there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They probably won't be in command, but they'll be closer. These guys won't be, but that's fine. We have some exciting stuff going on. First of all, these guys locked in. Okay, not too exciting there. But Simon, with this other unit, managed to smash through, destroy a unit, hit these archers, push them back with a continuing attack. Here locked in. Here, I think we retired a unit. And then this guy hit these mounted men-at-arms here, got a good roll, ends up getting a retired result on him. Problem. I cannot retire to a hex. I have to retire adjacent to the standard, and I can't retire to a hex that's adjacent to the unit that attacked me. These are all full, which means he's actually eliminated. And that's a big 3 points. Hey, we're getting to the point where the English might just lose the battle. Right? And more than that, that continued attack is gone. We're no longer in that, but we do advance into the standard here. And that standard has to displace, causing rolls for these guys. Now, I don't know where the fuck that rule is. Maybe it's on here. Trampled missiles. Yeah, I don't see it on here. And it's not going to be folded in here, I think. This is the best thing. Because, again, the rules have bloated so much. And it is a relatively good one here. Okay. Any retired units prior to moving must check if the roll is 5 or more. That unit is now eliminated. Now, I don't know where the standard's going to go. I'm going to prop it back here, I guess. That's awfully close to the enemy, but I want it close to these forces and close to this as it advances. So, okay, what did I say? 4 or more? 4 or less? Something like that. 5 or more is the deadly. Okay, we'll use the red die for the top one. Okay, so this is eliminated. This just sits there. And this is a pike. That's going to cost 1 more. Dropping it there. And now we have a chance of a continuation. We don't really care if he does the Welsh. We've said that before. And a free activation might give us some advantage. I don't know. The problem with a free activation is we have to roll that sucker. But there's only 1 point that's like a non-recovered point. Or a recoverable point. So the Welsh get to go. Well, we roll a die to see how many Welsh we lose. That'll be 3. A few of them gone. They just went back into the bag. I don't have to count them for anything. And the rest of the force moving forward, kind of get in the way of the standard. If things go really south for me, that could be problematic. But, you know, I'm trying to get them off the board, honestly. And the Welsh leader coming up to join them, this little bottleneck seems to have done its job. And at this point, It's pretty important to have a seizure. There's no negation, so we take it. And this is not a free activation. I'm going to take the harder to activate person because he activates on a 5 and it's just a better move. Back everywhere, and with these it wasn't absolutely necessary. I don't know where my commander wants to be. Probably not on that +1 pike unit, but I don't know. Whatever. Fired a couple of archers there. I have a battle cry. Is that the rally thing? I could have rallied this unit. Let's do that. Let's just do that. That gets me a point back. Use up my chit. In addition to falling back and hoping that Edward can do something to kind of save the day here, I had also forgotten to take care of all those recovery or rallies, whatever, by Montfort's men, and I took care of them as well. And that puts me time for Edward to make his roll. And he succeeds, which means we can swing into action and try to save, who the hell is this? Well, it was Gloucester, but it's not anymore. And we're going to be able to get a couple of attacks to bear. Unfortunately, not getting the flanking I had hoped to be able to get here. Couldn't quite reach there because it costs an extra movement point to move into adjacent to an enemy unit. I think I was playing maybe a little fast and loose with that before. Because I remembered zones stopping you. That's not the case anymore. So I was playing it probably by the original rules a little bit more, a little less interpenetration. I kind of like the interpenetration better, even though it may have caused me to fuck up playing because I remembered it a different way. It's definitely not showing himself to be the military genius we want him to be. Forces here got pushed back. These got stuck, disordered, and engaged. This did make it forward, but otherwise we're not in great shape there. Now we try for another continuation, and we need a 2 now, which we get. That's awesome, at least for them. And he doesn't have any choices. Mainly a massive recovery effort, but we're hitting a mounted man-at-arms here. He's disordered, so he can't withdraw before combat, or he can't retreat, or whatever it is. They call it retreat before combat, fine. And he can't countercharge, which puts him in trouble. And then similarly hitting another unit here with a chance of hitting Simon. This could all go very badly. This was the last turn was a seizure, so I didn't have to roll. This sequence all started off with a seizure, so there was no need to roll to see if the British lose, and I could end up bringing Simon down pretty hard. I don't know if to my level, but hard. And Simon survives it, which is, he's kind of the big points here. I don't know what he is, 3, 4, something like that. Although he was on top of a unit that was retired. You can see, hey, they look a lot better now. However, Edward gets to make his attempt. Now he's going on a 3 at this point, with the -2 from there, or +2 or whatever. He is not going to make it. That means we go to a free activation here. If I take, I'm going to take the free activation, obviously, but there's no reason. I mean, I could pass and turn their timer down. But at the end of that free activation, there is some chance that the English army could break. So these poor suckers out here are out of command. I didn't put a marker on them, but they can't leave the enemy adjacency, and therefore have to attack, which is not optimal by any means. Other things, though, we managed to sweep in using some archers, soften up the enemy troops. We'll be able to hit with those. A little bit of recovery here and here. I don't know. I could use him here, but I got a couple of charges. And I'm using, I've switched over. And I use the charge no moves when they mean what they mean. But that means we push into these two hexes, and we're going to have the movement penalty now. That's beginning to feel like the more common occurrence, so I'm a little bit more comfortable with it. I still wish that the two counters looked kind of more similar and had arrows and stuff, whatever. It just would help me. I could play the battle cry and recover this unit. Why not? You see, you know, I haven't been using my thing for a while, which then means that I can put the recovery there. This unit could have attacked into all of this, but it felt wiser to fall back. I didn't see sometimes you see, and this is what causes that swirling activity, a bunch of good attacks. Sometimes you don't, and when you don't, it doesn't feel like it's a good idea to charge in and hope for, you know, your even odds attack to do well. It makes more sense to try to get, you know, some kind of defensive formation together, even though it's still not going to hold up. Like, maybe you'd be better off disrupting an enemy unit or something. So the net effect as we recover. Forgot to throw Simon. He's in a kind of nice place. Other than for these guys. The net effect was a couple more points, a couple more retired units, I think a destroyed unit, getting the Royalists down to an ugly position in terms of their surviving, right? This was a free activation, so I get to roll it immediately. Now the problem here was I had a disordered unit. 2 units attacking normally gives you a +1, but a disordered unit gives you a -2. So the fact that I couldn't get that disordered unit out of there actually put me at a disadvantage in the battle, even though I had numerical odds. All right, let's see. A 4 or higher in this battle is over with Simon de Montfort defeating Longshanks and who the hell knows, you know? And there it is. Okay, so what won this battle was quality, but not so much of the troops. Although Simon's troops were high quality, I think they were not that much better than the English troops, but honestly, or than the Royalist troops, but honestly his leadership value and the fact that he went and picked on the guy with the lower leadership value. That was the biggest thing, you know? That outflank maneuver in that direction forces what I see as an unbalanced situation into a balanced one. You know, remember, the Royalists were favored in this. Well, a little bit of luck. This is just a fool's errand. You need these forces to do something with. So trying to bust through here with Wigham or whatever is not a wise move. Any kind of thoughts that I had of, oh well, maybe the Welsh will go back and face him. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. The battle is, can Simon break out? And in attempting to do so, he defeated the Royalist army and beat Edward. And now the question is, does he hang Edward? You know, I'm trying to remember whether Edward made any kind of promises or anything. That would be a big deal. Well, he wouldn't hang him. But, I mean, Simon had been very, very reasonable in terms of, you know, not doing things like executing, deposing the king, which, sure, he had no legitimate right to the crown. Could he have found someone? I don't know. And it made a lot more sense to rule as he was doing, but Edward was obviously too dangerous. And unless you locked him away someplace really, really nasty or killed him, he's probably going to come back and cause an issue, escape or whatever. Just like Edward III did for his father. And there was some confusion because I think people are more familiar with that one. But no, Henry III was indeed the victim of this Barons' War. Okay, let us send it up, I guess. And I gotta swap batteries. I'll come back with a review of this one. It's kind of funny because, look, I've reviewed the system, etc. The last couple have been very, very different. And I think I gave both Arquebus and Blood and Roses reviews. I'm not sure if I gave Infidel one. It's almost like this is the first one that kind of throws back to those earlier ones. And I think it has more to do with the equipment that the troops have. We don't have the gunpowder in play, and the armies are reacting more like medieval armies. I start to feel when you're getting to, obviously, look, Blood and Roses, that's going to be 15th century. And I think so is Arquebus. I'm not positive. It may be later. But you're looking at a period, yeah, Arquebus has to be later, or late 15th century. When you're looking at I could actually just go peek. When you're looking at the battles, it's like I'm getting to an era that's closer. Okay, this goes a little later, goes into the 16th century, but it starts in the early 15th. So, yeah, that makes sense. When you're looking at some of those later battles, like the mid 16th century battles at Arquebus, but even the Blood and Roses stuff, it's feeling less and less medieval. To me, Men of Iron was about, like the original Men of Iron was about, hey, infantry has a purpose. Well, in the battles in this stuff, infantry has a purpose because these are all the Norman, until we get to something like Evesham here, whatever, the Saxon and Norwegian armies, those were infantry. I think in Civites, the Papal army was mainly infantry, was it not? I don't remember. But it's like, Men of Iron was originally designed to show the resurgence of infantry as a reasonable arm. Fulford is, yeah, that's already that. Civites, the Papal. You get dismounted men at arms, which doesn't really count in some pike. It was a small army. Yeah, the idea, though, of these spear formations and everything, they're pretty potent comparatively. I'm not feeling like a small amount of cavalry is doing that big a difference. When we start looking at some of these others, the Tinchebrai, was there much cav? Not a hell of a lot, And then these two Barons' Wars, there wasn't a hell of a lot of cav. It was mainly, your spearmen hitting each other. So, I guess kind of like it's just the quantities of force involved. And I guess what you're looking at is, look, the infantry never really went away. You know, it was always an important factor. I guess there may have been battles where the infantry, especially the sort of the more standard infantry, your spearmen and whatnot, the pike units in this, were so crappy that they couldn't really do much. The problem is they're good at hitting each other. When they're crappy, they're really good on the attack, which I don't feel seems to show the reality of the situation. I have a feeling that some of those crappy units would be really, really hard to activate and get moving in an offensive manner. Like, they're really bad on defense, but they're not really able to attack. And I feel like the Welsh here came the closest to that with, hey, roll a die, see how many you lose if you dare activate them. Well, you don't have much choice here because you can't keep activating Simon until you get rid of all your Welsh. All right. Indeed, let's send this up, and yeah, I'll try to come up with a review. I don't know how much it's worth it, but it's been so long. Yeah, screw it. It doesn't need a review. Yeah, so I'll give the review. I'll give the review at the end of this video, right? I don't know. I mean, what it all just comes down to, is that. Yeah, I'll talk about it. Fuck it. All right.